Of reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew. Let us be attentive. At that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to sin. Such things must come, but woe to the man through whom they come. If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed and crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the fire of hell. See that you do not look down on one of these little ones, for I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven. Glory to Jesus Christ. Today's Gospel is very important. Actually, this chapter from the Gospel of Matthew is very important because it answers one very important question that I think every Christian should ask himself or herself. Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Actually, in this question, even though apostles probably did not have the right reason for asking, they wanted to be the greatest among the great in the kingdom of heaven. While Christ's answer actually faces that right away. He doesn't tell them who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven and who will be of less greatness in the kingdom of heaven. Right away, Christ points out that in the kingdom of heaven, there are no levels of greatness. There are the saved ones. There are the children of God. And it is hidden. We don't hear these exact words, but it is hidden in the words of Christ. I tell you the truth, unless you change, what you have to change? This attitude of trying to be greater than somebody who is already great. Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Not that you will not become great in the kingdom of heaven, but you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And then Christ goes into even more explanation of the qualities that, and I would like to underline this, these qualities, they do not make us greater than someone else in the kingdom of heaven. Christ levels everyone out. He says that to enter into the kingdom of heaven, there are certain qualities that you have to possess. What are these qualities that Christ brings out and shows them to his disciples in this chapter of the Gospel of Matthew? It is the 18th chapter of the Gospel, which I invite everybody to read thoroughly. We read only first 10 verses, and the story, Christ's speech, goes on, underlining some other qualities that are necessary to enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, let's look at the first one that we find right in this verse that I just quoted. First of them is modesty. He says that who does not become as a child, he will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Modesty is a necessary quality that Christ underlines strongly, that distinguishes his children. Only a man as humble as a child can be a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, can be truly the son or the daughter of our God. And this is something that really stands in the way of our Christian life. Ambition, thought that we are better than someone else, prestige, love for distinction. In other passage, Christ says, love for the first seats in the synagogue. These things do not distinguish the children of heaven, but modesty and humility. These are the two main, Christ points that out, the two main qualities that distinguish the children of heaven. In other verses, we hear about responsibility. This is another quality that is very important, responsibility, that Christ points out. We have to understand that the reason why Christ called people to kingdom of heaven, not by themselves. We have to understand this very precisely. In the Protestant tradition, there is a lot of, in some, not in all of them, but in some of them, there is a lot of emphasis is being put on personal vocation. Each person separately has a relationship with God, and by that relationship, he or she is saved. Whatever influence we might get from other people is irrelevant. We have to watch only for our own salvation. Salvation of everybody else is not of our concern, but this is not what we hear from Christ. By saying that if somebody would teach another one to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned. By giving this example, he doesn't only condemn the attitude of somebody who teaches to sin, who teaches the evil, who makes others do evil. He actually teaches the very strong sense of responsibility. Whatever we do, even in our good deeds, we have to very carefully try to understand what influence will this have on other people. And this is why, this is a very important point, why Christ created and called the people to salvation through the church. Church, it is the place where we gather together so that we could save each other. And this is the place where this responsibility flourishes. Not only responsibility of people for people, but also this is the place, the church, where we feel the responsibility that Christ has for us. Why did he come to this world? Why did he teach? Why did he leave his message through the Gospels, through the other books of the Bible? Because he feels responsible for us. And that responsibility comes from love. Third and final quality that Christ underlines, that we can see in the last verses that we have read today, when we read that if your eye is the cause of your sin, gouge it out. If your hand is the cause of your sin, cut it away. Christ wants to really underline another very important quality that distinguishes every good Christian: self-denial. Right now, the Olympics started in London, in England, and when we think of those athletes that dedicate their lives to extremely hard work, training, physical, psychological, they will dedicate not hours a week. They will dedicate their entire life to reach a goal. Self-denial is extremely important in their lives. They don't do what pleases them. They do what is necessary to get to the goal. In this case, it is winning a trophy and performing in a special way for your country. The same quality should distinguish every Christian. We have to practice self-denial. But self-denial is never appreciated if it is not pointed, it is not directed towards a goal. And our goal is salvation. There is no, there is nothing that is too big for us to deny if it is towards salvation. And Christ names very extremely important things in our lives. Our hand, our eye. Because if we really have our spiritual eye set on the goal of our salvation, there is absolutely nothing that could be and should be and must be given up to get to that goal. Glory to Jesus Christ.